Vigilante Williamson here with the 12th episode of my show, The Vigilante Williamson Show. Even though it's barely, it is still, at least for the next 5 or so minutes, November 30th, Monday, November 30th, Cyber Monday, for those who are spending their disposable income on gifts. I hope everyone's having a blessed evening and or afternoon whenever you're watching this. If you're watching a repeat, this is actually the first episode, hopefully, that is being simulcast. Yes, it is. Oops. It is the first episode being simulcast on Twitch and D Live, as well as YouTube. Just pay for the $10 Cyber Monday, Black Friday stream elements or StreamYard thing. Speaking of stream elements, if you are so obliged to contribute, I would really appreciate that. So feel free. Let me actually just make sure it's in the chat. If you are somebody who wants to, help out and support, not sure if it'll be on all platforms because StreamYard's telling me comments are not going to be on platforms. But if you're on Twitch or YouTube and you're watching this at all throughout this broadcast, feel free. We're always looking for support here on the channel. It's an up and coming channel. So on today's episode, we have a little bit to get into. We have to talk about virtue signaling gone wrong and why it doesn't work. We have to talk about the future of alt tech. We have to talk about a lot of stuff. Let me see as I'm going through, because I actually prepared. I'm going through the articles to make sure I don't have a bunch of stupid stuff. Oh God, trying to. I'm gonna hopefully just get some time for people to get in. I'm having issues with the articles before I go on the screen. Oh my Lord, this is ridiculous. I am having a fight with the website that I really want to have up for one of my stories. Oh, these technical issues. I'm trying to. Oh my God, I don't even have ad blocker on my thing, but it's still not letting me use this site. Oh no, this sucks. And of course, this happens live. Fuck. And you guys can't see what's happening either. I have a bunch of stories. I want to talk about the Sarah Fuller story with the kicker. I want to talk about Dave Chappelle a little bit. I want to talk about Parler and even some positive news. We always got to have some positive news. But I'm having some major issues when it comes to one of the sites that I'm using as I try to get this going. It thinks I'm using ad block. I've actually taken ad block off of even though it ends up with a lot of ads. I'm taking all ad block off, so I don't know what the hell to do to appease this. And of course, it's doing this live. And yeah, it's hard to get stuff live. You know what? I am going to take a quick break because the heat is on real quick. And it allows a little bit more time for people to get in here. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Rocky start. Still do not have this ad blocker thing situated, and I really need this site. So, because it has a. Oh my God. This is kind of ridiculous. Actually, do I need this site I use? Shit, I do need this. Oh, shit. Oh, my fucking God. I hate to curse, and I'd probably just fuck my stream, but this is bullshit. So I'm doing, I want to do later in the podcast a story on Sarah Fuller. Have it pulled up. It's been pulled up for a little bit, and all of a sudden it just, you need to unblock ads. I don't have ad blocker on this browser for this particular reason to not go into this, not deal with this shit. And now I have to re-pull up this story right now and hope, because it's not the first story that I'm covering, hope that by the time I get to it, it isn't being stupid. I am not blocking ads. Holy smokes. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Extensions. I don't have. Oh, okay. Jesus fucking Christ. And I hate to curse and say use the Lord's name in vain, but this is very frustrating to have happen. Let me see. Are you done fucking with me? So I can actually start. I try to get through this. Hey, Latino Slant, I'm sorry that you happen to watch technical issues arise mid through. I appreciate you. Appreciate you being up. I guess actually, I think you're on the West Coast, so it's not that late. So yeah, finally got my technical issues. I'm going to get into the news. Before getting into the heavy stuff, have something that may be kind of cool. We'll see. It's something I think is going to be cool. It's talking about the X-Men. So, as a lot of people know, they're going to be bringing the X-Men into the MCU. And so now we have the talking about the cast. And it's funny because this could be, are you in? Huh. So I don't know what this means. This is from Twitch because we're simul streaming. But thank you, big time train. I don't know what that means. Are you an Enning? I don't know what that means. But okay, let's get into the first story. New rumor claims to reveal Marvel's top choice for X-Men villain Magneto. A new rumor suggests that a former X-Men related actor is being sought to don Magneto's signature helmet when he makes his eventual leap into the MCU. This rumor is coming from noted scooper Geekosity's Mikey Sutton. Sources close to him are claiming that Dan Stevens, who starred in FX's Legion, as series lead David Haller, is being considered for the role of Magneto. That's interesting, but that's not really why I'm covering this story. It goes a little bit later to other people who are rumored for Magneto, and this is kind of gets me into a halfway crook mode. All right, there have been whispers that Giancarlo Esposito is being looked at for the role of Magneto as a race swap version of the character, as Marvel has done with the past, with such as Hyde Mall, Nick Fury, and Valkyrie. The other sources that indicate that the Mandalorian actor is being strongly considered for the role of Professor Xavier. So this is why I'm talking about this story. So I even did a whole video about how I don't really like race swaps, right? I don't like I think one, it takes away from, in this case, black, and even though I think obviously Esposito, he's a Latino brother, but it takes away from whatever group you're trying to represent, them having their own original stories, and it also changes the eternal character of a character. It changes what a character is. And I got a lot of heat. Actually, my most controversial video on this channel is me talking about the race swap with Hawkman, because a lot of people brought up, oh, his origin is Egyptian, even though he's actually a reincarnation. And I'm not going to get into that whole controversy, but there are people who definitely want these race swaps. Now, 9 times out of 10, I'm against them. But Giancarlo Esposito is an incredible actor, right? He's the type of actor that can, and even though this is usually used as kind of a straw man, well, what if he's the best guy for the job? Because a lot of times they're not actually picking the best person for the job. They're just trying to do their virtual signaling. We will get into virtual signaling and other aspects a little bit later. But Giancarlo Esposito is no virtual signal. He's a great actor. And funnily enough, even though I don't like a race swap Magneto specifically, because him being a Holocaust survivor is a very important element of his character, there's something about Giancarlo's energy that fits Magneto. Like, I can see him as a Magneto character in the MCU. So that's why I'm sort of mixed. But at the same time, Magneto specifically, him being a Holocaust survivor is very important to his character. It's very important to inform you of his worldview, because he's not really a villain. You know what I mean? He's more of an anti-hero or anti-villain because he's a sympathetic character. And I really think that's a huge element. I mean, you could make him a black Jewish person, I guess. But I think really being a Holocaust survivor is a part of Magneto's character. Granted, as time goes on, we're getting close to the 100-year anniversary of the Holocaust in the next 20 years. So at some point, you do have to figure out what you want to do with that element of his character, because he's going to become too old as far as, whatever the current day is for that to still be true. So I do understand that element. But this is where I'm mixed. I don't like race swaps. I think, a lot of times they end up worse. But just brought up Nick Fury. Nick Fury was a great race swap. Nobody cared because he's Samuel L. Jackson and he brought a lot to that role. And it'd be hard to imagine anyone else as Nick Fury right now. So that's where, if this is a race swap that they do with either Magneto or Professor X, I actually would prefer Magneto between the two. If I have to get a choice for Giancarlo, I don't know. I'm incredibly mixed. I am actually incredibly divided. I guess, you guys in the chat, you can tell me what you think. Because you're changing Magneto's character to make him another race. His race actually absolutely is important to his character. But in the process, you could very well get 5 actors and not get any of them as good as Giancarlo Esposito. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to do. Let's see what Paulie said. Giancarlo can do no wrong, but we can leave the legends alone and create new ones. I do agree with that. And that's what I lean to 9 times out of 10, but I really like him as an actor, right? And so there's a part of me who's like, man, he would make a good Magneto. Only time will tell what will happen. And as I've said in the past with Disney, and I'll get into Warner actually in the next story, AT&T, anything these companies do is a maybe until it's done because the money is not right. Paulie put it perfect. Giancarlo can't do no wrong, but you can't create new characters. You can't create new. And I think the MCU is dead in general. Endgame was the end for me. I was falling off with the MCU since really the downfall. I don't say the downfall, but after Civil War, I started to get a little tired. And then Infinity War was cool, but it was still not perfect for me. Not that everything has to be perfect, but there were still parts of it I didn't like. And the Endgame was kind of a mess, but I was just happy to have it over. And it was a satisfying enough ending. It was satisfying to have a finality to everything. So that part I did like about Endgame. But we'll see what happens. So I want to talk about this. Maybe you've seen this. Maybe you haven't. This is I Am Not Starfire. And this is actually very sad, right? Because AT&T and Warner Media pretty much are laying people off on a quarterly basis. And we're not talking small layoffs. We're talking thousands and thousands of people losing their jobs pretty much every quarter the past few quarters. And I unfortunately think it will continue, right? Let me actually go to another article on this. The potential release date for this mess is August 10th, 2021. There are rumors that there won't even be a DC Comics by August 10th, 2021, that they'll stop publishing by June. I don't believe those rumors, but the fact that they're out there just lets you know how dire the situation is. Yet, we still have this person, and I showed her a picture not to shame her, but to show this picture to let you know, yes, this is a self-insert. There's no doubt about that, right? Putting out books. And to go back to the time frame, this predates this. It was announced in 2019. So that's when this sort of thing was started. And Courtney Blackman. Really? Not sure what that's a reference to. I'm not sure if it's in reference to me I'm not even making fun of this. I'm just talking about this. Or if it's in reference to me saying that there's a chance that DC Comics won't be around. There is a chance DC Comics won't be around. I don't believe it to that extent, but there is, definitely something to it. There's something that's going to happen. But why is this happening? Who is this for? Who is the intended audience for this comic book? Let me get into the story. DC Comics introduces gay and overweight daughter of Starfire. Oh, one other question. Who is the baby daddy? And I hate to just be that guy. Is it the Penguin? You would think it would be Nightwing, but who in the world knows? And I haven't seen anything talking about that. But let's get into the story. DC Comics introduced a brand new character in the form of Starfire's daughter with the announcement of their new young adult comic, I Am Not Starfire. Based on a press release obtained by Bleeding Cool, the comic follows the high school shenanigans of 17-year-old Mandy Corlander, who is apparently the complete opposite of her mother, Corlander. The press release explains that Mandy is a high school outcast, that she is constantly trying to get out from out from under the shadow. It says hour from under, so that threw me off. Out from under the shadow of her bright, bubbly, scantily clad, and famous mother. In order to do so, she dyes her hair bright orange, or she dyes her bright orange hair black, and spends her day at school avoiding Teen Titan super fans. I mean, she's not a Teen Titan anymore. She has to be in her 40s, and trying to hide her feelings for the gorgeous, popular, and perfect Claire. She also tries to avoid spending time with her mother, and when she's not doing that, which I don't know, avoid spending time, that's actually a negative thing. It's not an active thing. But when you're not doing that, the press release implies that one of the main conflicts of the book is the fact that she walked out her SAT. And I don't know how you feel about college. I mean, if you're going to go to a trade school, I guess you can do that. And there's more to it, but you get the gist. This is, and it compares it to Gotham High, because they did this earlier in the year. They're doing this young adult push, these young adult graphic novels. And are people in the young adult genre really going to buy this? And in fact, in reference to Gotham High, and I don't have anything up on it, so I apologize, but I believe this got returned a lot, because this being considered a book or a novel as opposed to a comic and being sent to bookstores, they're able to return a lot of this stuff. So there's a huge financial, pitfall for this. Oh wow, this is the rank. Oh Lord. Thank God I wasn't signed in. I thought I was gonna dox myself. I'm not signing in this browser. I'm like, oh shoot, shouldn't have did that. But I'm cool. So yeah, this is where we are for Gotham High. And honestly, Gotham High seems at least more interesting than this. They both seem like trash. But who was this for? I mean, who knows? I'm hoping it's a great I hope it's a great comic. I hope it's a great, I wish everyone the best. Oh, let me see. Vigilante Courtney is my good friend from Texas. Well, hello, Courtney. Nice meeting you. Cool. So yeah, I'm not optimistic about this. It's very sad again when you have a comic industry in the issues, in the situation it is, and the parent company, both of these parent companies, as far as the major two comic companies, have so much going on in the negative as far as the money. And just as quick aside, in general, I don't know how the entertainment industry can last long term, because they're basically going the ringtone route of the music industry where everything's digital, and I don't see how they generate enough money digital only. I don't see how you can have blockbuster movies to how can you make a $200 million movie digitally, as far as how you make that money back? How do you have $1 billion profit on a movie? And why is that interesting for this comic book company? Well, they're major corporations now. They're not single comic book companies. So there's not enough money, especially when AT&T is hemorrhaging money, to keep stuff like this afloat anymore. It's not 2019 when this was announced. When even then there were issues. The comic industry was dying. It's not 2018, not 2012. It's not any year where you can afford to produce something that isn't going to sell. And this is almost as like, are you guys you're so busy trying to troll people. And maybe you're not. Maybe this is a genuine attempt at making a something that people will buy, but it does not seem like it, because I could not tell you who the target audience for this is. Do you think young adult readers are really going to read this? And what evidence, show me a receipt that says that it will happen. I don't see it happening. I think this is sad. But unfortunately, the next story is going to be a little bit more virtue signaling. And then this next story is not, I don't know, there's more of this. This next story is not one I was going to cover, right? I don't even know where to start with this one. This is about Sarah Fuller, who you may have heard. She's Vanderbilt's backup kicker. She's really a soccer player on their women's team, and she was named SEC Special Teams Player of the Week after this kick. And I hope you can hear the audio. So let's just play it. You can see what type of videos I like watching. Shout out to Blind Fury, who's apparently streaming right now. Okay, let's skip it. We get it. And they making this a good moment. And I'm not going to shame this woman, right? Because actually, good for you, man. If you're able to generate, hopefully you can generate income off of this crap. I'm a capitalist. I want everyone to make money. But she was named for the Special Team Player of the Week in the SEC, the best college football conference for this play right here. This single play, the only play she made. SEC Player of the Week for that. The coach got fired. There ain't no coach who had like 7 losing seasons is fired. And some people think he did that as a way, oh, you can't fire me. I have this virtues. Hey, I have the first woman in a major college organization. You can't fire me. And it didn't work. If that was the case, we don't know that it was the case. But this, I wasn't going to cover this just off the strength of what happened. You know, if this was just, hey, they got the backup kicker or whatever it was, they were already down 21-0. This is a team that's not going to go anywhere. It's a cool story. It's a cool little nothing story. It's kind of funny because the kick was so bad. They tried to cover it, saying, actually, I think it says in this article, it's a squib kick, and it wasn't a squib kick. Maybe they did design a squib kick, which makes it worse. Actually, because the coach, if I can find it in this article, let me see if I can find it. Should have. So this just talks about her winning. Oh yeah, she's hurt. Look at this. Look at the marketing they're putting behind this woman for that one kick. They have this picture, Mia Hamm, Hope Solo, Billie Jean King, and shout out to those ladies. I'm not trying to disparage anyone, and I'm not even trying to disparage Sarah Fuller herself, because again, I'm a capitalist. If you can make money, make money. If you can profit off this, not this. After the Tennessean is giving me so much crap, you can profit off of this for all means profit. This is not on her. This is on everyone else. All these media organizations virtue signaling. I'm going to ask the same question I just asked about Marika Tamaki's virtue signal comic. Who is this for? Oh, I appreciate that, Paulie. Hey guys, let's hit the like button. Show Vigilante some love. I appreciate that anyone's even watching this, because usually these streams are pretty dead. But I know there's 5 people watching between the 3 platforms. Not sure how many people are watching on YouTube, because I'm only using StreamYards. Hey, Foulball. What is up, gents? What is up, Foulball Productions? I actually need to check out your stream you had with Lindsay. I saw part of it, but I didn't see it all. You were doing the Miracle. I think it was the Miracle on 34th Street. Pretty cool stuff. But who is this for? What barrier is this knocking down? Because this isn't a good showing. And you know what the saddest part about this is? And I'm going to get to it. There's a story here about how that kind of, if I can get to it, I hate to drag through it. Oh, God, I want to find the story. There's a story about how, maybe this is it. Nope. Hold on. Nope. Okay. There's a story about how she could kick the ball about 45 yards naturally. And I'm trying to make sure I can find it. And you can see all the stuff I have downloaded. Let me clean up, because I'm a mess. All right. Is that? Where is it? Is it highlighted? I can't see it. Shit. Well, the whole point, as I'm trying to find a story, it talks about how she was able to kick a ball. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna actually search, and I hate to do this live. Sorry. Hopefully, I don't lose any more people than I already have. This. No, this isn't it. There's a story about how she was doing a contest kicking a soccer ball with her teammates, and they would kick the ball into the stands and go back 10 yards. She made it to about 45 yards. So why did I bring that up? Even though I can't find the fucking story. I shouldn't have cussed. Well, because I looked at the science of which one will a soccer ball travel about as far as a football. So I'm not sure if everyone can see this, but this is according to Stack Exchange. It's not official. But the belief is that a football would actually travel further than a soccer ball. Yeah, Nana Reaper. That kick was terrible. Appreciate you joining. That kick was so atrocious. But if the story, and I hate that I can't find it, is true that she was able to kick a soccer ball 45 yards, that presumes, according to science, and it's the believability of the story. It could be BS. As you see, there's a huge marketing campaign behind this woman. But if that's anywhere in the realm of possibility, she could potentially kick a football even further, meaning she could have done at least a decent kick if they would have asked her, if she was trying to. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But it's a shame. It's a real shame that they did that. Who is this for? Do you think that there's a woman out there who, you know, always wanted to be a terrible college kicker? Like, is that the goal that we're trying to say? This is what we're trying to give the example for our next generation of young ladies. You too can be an atrocious female kicker for a terrible team that a bunch of people in the media virtue signal for clout for. Like, is that what we're trying to teach our next generation? Is that the example we're trying to set? I can't help but to think of I believe it was the Super Bowl in 07 for the 06 season. You had two black coaches. You had Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith as the coaches in the Super Bowl. And Lay's had this cringy commercial with all these black people smiling like this is some moment. And it was great. It was cool. I'm glad that both coaches were able to have success and what have. And I like Tony Dungy a ton. And I even like Lovie Smith when he was a coach. But, this wasn't some grand moment for me. I didn't get like a check and something. It wasn't like someone knocked on the door like, hey, did you know that there's two black coaches in the Super Bowl this year? And Lay's did a commercial. Everything's better now. Racism is dead. Or it wasn't like, oh man, now, I didn't think I could do anything. But now that I see this Lay's commercial with Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy, I think anything is possible. Is that like the intention? Like, what is the intention behind this stuff? And I would have never covered this just for the kick itself. I didn't care. The team's going nowhere. The coach got fired. It's just a funny story. And it doesn't harm anything in a vacuum. But when you add on to the huge media blitz and this, Vanderbilt Sarah Fuller is the special teams player of the week in the SEC. The SEC is arguably better than the NFC East. The SEC is the power football conference of power football conferences. And that hurts my heart as a Michigan fan when we have John Harbaugh, but that's a digression that I won't get into. The SEC is as tough of a football conference that has ever existed. And you're telling me the special teams player of the week kicked a terrible squib kick, potentially by design to keep her from getting hurt? It's atrocious. So what does this say to all the people who do have college scholarships, who will fight for a college scholarship? It says it's pointless. I mean, you can go argue about what a college education is worth. I think it can be worth a lot depending on the degree. But there are people who are trying their damnedest to get a scholarship. And instead, you're saying, nope, it's more important to do virtue signaling. Now, I know the Angels advocate, she didn't take actual scholarship spot. She's a walk-on, whatever. Still, you're somebody who wants a scholarship. If you see something like that and you feel like a spot is gone, like, you know what I mean? And Nana Reaper does bring up a decent point. Vanderbilt is the worst team in the SEC. And not just this year, they're historically one of, if not the worst teams in the SEC. They are a doormat. And that's very true. So that's why in a vacuum, I wouldn't care. But when you make her the player of the week in the SEC, again, the worst team in the SEC, is gets the player of the week for one terrible squib. Oh, in a locker room, she apparently gave a locker room pep talk to the team that was losing because she had to do it. What are you saying about your program? What are you saying about your conference? And what are you saying about college football? To me, you're saying whatever the headlines do, will do. The sanctity of the sport be damned. And not that, college football is corrupt as fuck. So it's not like it's a sanctified sport with all these bowl games, these people who get envelopes for nothing. But still, I just think it's a bad look. Giving her a award. If you just did it, who cares? It's funny. We can, make memes about it, but it's up to her. And again, I'm not attacking Sarah Fuller. I hope you can capitalize off of this. I'm a capitalist. Make this money, honey. Don't let it make you. I hope you can grift from all these stupid organizations. I hope you can, do speaking tours, get as much money out of this as you can. You only live once. So I wanted to get to some stories that I wasn't able to get into last week, and then we're getting close to the end. For those who are new for the podcast, I always like to end with a positive story. So after the next couple of stories, I'm going to get to my 2 positive stories to end the podcast because we need positive news. Let's see. Also, this is a very good point. Even if she doesn't take up a scholarship, she does take up a slot on the team. Very good point. That adds to it. There's a lot of people who just want to be a college football player, who just want to walk in, be a special teams player. In fact, they just want to say, I played college football. And, those players who are walk-ons, who know they're never going to make the pros, who know they may not even start, there's another spot gone. And it's not just about this team, this spot. It's about future teams doing the same thing. And it's a shame. So let's get into this from last week. I didn't really get into it. This is Dave Chappelle. I'm not going to play the video because it's pretty long. But if you remember, Netflix removed Dave Chappelle's show at his request. And he explains why. I'm not going to, like I said, show the video. It's like an 18-minute video, and I couldn't single in on the exact clip. But the longest short of it is Dave Chappelle's contract that he signed with Comedy Central. He wasn't able to get residual. So when it was on Netflix, and he saw it was on Netflix, he basically said, "Hey, this makes me feel bad," and they took it off. And they were commended, which I think they should have been. I think it was cool that they did that. And he, just let a lot of people in on, something that a lot of people who are in and around the industry or just care about the entertainment industry know. But these contracts, if they are getting signed, that they usually screw the actual creatives. This is a quote. When I left Chappelle's show, I never got paid. They didn't have to pay me because I signed the contract. But is that right? The comedian asked in the video. I found that these people were streaming my work and they never had to ask me or have to tell me. Perfectly legal because I signed the contract. But is that right? It's a very good question. Let's see. Got to Boogie. Have a good stream. Okay. Thank you for showing up, Foulball. I appreciate it, man. So I have kind of 2 minds about this. It's very cool what Netflix did to take down the show. Maybe, they could renegotiate things to make sure Dave gets a cut. But what about all the artists and the creatives that aren't Dave Chappelle? We saw with Alan Dean Foster, hopefully I got his name right, but he's a longtime novelist he wrote what a lot of people thought was the second Star Wars. He did the novelization for Aliens, and Disney hasn't paid him. And technically they are obligated to pay him, but they're trying to use a terrible, like the precedent of the loophole would be incredibly distressful. They're trying to say, oh, we bought the company, but we didn't buy the liabilities, even though we're still publishing the work. I think that's why I don't think it'll hold up. But it just shows you how shady a major corporation can be. And so all the creatives that aren't named Dave Chappelle are not going to get that treatment. They're not going to be able to call up Netflix, say, I feel bad, and then get something that they want. As great as it is to kind of put it out there for people to see how messed up it can be for creatives in this industry, what is the long-term positive? How do we push this forward? Now, I'm not a black pill person, but on the entertainment industry, not necessarily the people, not necessarily the entertainments or the fans, but the framework, these monolithic companies that to me have a failing operating system. They shouldn't have let the theaters die. I think that the future, the actual pay for it, is the destruction of these very companies or the limit on their impact. In 10 years, there may not be a Comedy Central. Maybe in 5. There's only going to be the few streaming services. And of those streaming services, never forget, and you can argue whether or not it's true, but Netflix is a Netflix is a non-profitable company. It's a company that operates at a loss. So when you have companies like AT&T, Warner, and Disney who are operating, Disney has its first loss in 40 years, $5 billion loss. AT&T has all the debt that it has, and you have a platform. Even though streaming services, we all love them, they they aren't they aren't quite ready for prime time. I think for the fans, for me, you, the consumer, they're ready. But for the people who actually have to profit off of this, Disney's not ready to get all of their money from Disney Plus. AT&T is not ready to get all their money from HBO Max. Hell, they can't even get HBO Max on Roku. They just got it on Fire Stick like last week or a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's like that's crazy. And Nana Reaper's in the chat. He says, yeah, he's talking about. Sorry, that's not how it works. Talking about you buy a company, you acquire its assets and its debts. Exactly. Especially them publishing that book. You can't publish a book and not pay them royalties. I don't think that's going to hold up in court. I don't care. I hope this guy can get crowdfunding. I would love to contribute to any legal fund for him because that's complete BS. And that's how this entertainment industry works. But I think their chickens are going to come home to roost. They have put everything behind streaming. Only a few streaming services are going to survive. It wouldn't shock me if it's just Netflix and Amazon because Amazon has the built-in Amazon Prime that I have basically just to get stuff shipped to me quick. So I think they'll stick around. And I think Netflix, because they have so much of a hold, they will. Maybe Hulu, maybe. Disney Plus and HBO Max have a lot of ground to make up, especially HBO Max. And even though I think Disney will do pretty well, I don't think they'll make the type of money they need. They were used to huge, mega profitable movies every few months, basically, for the past few years with the MCU and their live action remake stuff. You know what I mean? They're not going to have that. And they're not going to have the revenue from the parks. AT&T's not going to have DirecTV. They're trying to sell that off. They're trying to sell off CNN. ESPN is trying to sell off. I'm sorry, Disney trying to sell off ESPN. I know I keep repeating these things, but they keep coming back up. So these companies, I feel like, will die. So the next generation of entertainers won't have to deal with this crap. Yeah, Hulu is part of Disney. And you can make the argument they should have put more into Hulu instead of doing Disney Plus. And yes, Latino Slant, let me actually put my Twitter in there. Even though I rarely use Twitter. I rarely use Parler either, even though I'm not a social media guy, but I'm actually using it to contact guys like you. I love Latino Slant and contact all the content creators. So let me put this in the chat. So there I am. There I am on Twitter. Feel free to follow. So yeah, Twitter. There you go. Where was I? Oh, but the new entertainment industry, the next Dave Chappelle, I don't know if he's going to have to deal with this. I think the next Dave Chappelle that's starting out now, that we'll see in the next 5 or 10 years, wherever he is, he won't have to go to Comedy Central, hope they fund his stuff. He'll probably be on the internet, have his little following, grow a following with Instagram, TikTok, whatever, maybe YouTube. He'll probably crowdfund something, have all the ownership of his property, and go forward with that. I think that's going to be the new entertainment industry. It's going to be us. See what Nana Reaper says. And even for all the blockbusters, Disney, they depended on the parks to make money. Yes, they did. And I don't see what they're going to do. I don't know what they're gonna do. Shoosh. Now I'm thinking about dumping my AT&T stock. Huh. I don't know because the stock market is getting inflated. You are going to have to dump stock eventually with AT&T, but that money printer is going, so I don't know when to get off that ride. I'm not sure how AT&T is doing individually, but who knows? Because yeah, the stock market is a lot of chicanery, but you can make money off of it. So we'll see. But I think the future Dave Chappelle is not going to have the same problem this Dave Chappelle is, because there's not going to be a Comedy Central to screw him out of his money. And he's going to be able to grow up in the internet age where he has all the legal resources that Dave Chappelle and all the entertainers we know in the past, the TLCs, the new additions who got ripped off, any other entertainer that you thought of that got ripped off back in the day. Trying to think of a lot of bands that got ripped off. They ended up broke. You know what I mean? You're not going to have, I'm not going to say you're not going to have that, but you're going to have a lot more independent entertainers. I'm trying to get back into music. When I was doing music in the mid to late 2000s, I remember them telling me, hey, I went to a showcase. Nobody owes you anything. And I think now these big companies are feeling it. And with everything by streaming, they're going to die. And because that's how I felt like nobody owed me anything. All you guys watching, I love you. You don't owe me anything. You don't owe me to stay on this channel. I have to keep you entertained. And the same thing, I don't owe big companies anything. And they're going to die as a result of stuff like this, of having decades of crapping on the creatives, decades of crapping on the fans. We talk about the woke stuff recently. We been crapping on the fans before this. And the chickens are going to come home to roost. You're going to have a wave of independent musicians, independent actors, independent producers, independent directors who are just going to say, oh, we don't need the entertainment industry anymore. We have YouTube. We have maybe Rumble or some other platform will rise. We have Twitch. We have all these other things. We have social media. We have all these distribution methods. We don't need a Comedy Central. We just need to be good and to promote ourselves and to work hard. We'll see what's going on with independent comics. I feel like the rest of the entertainment industry will follow. So I don't think the next Dave Chappelle will have the same problem this Dave Chappelle had. Dude. Oh, please change your settings in Twitter where I can message you. I am such a boomer. I do not know how. I will do it right after the show. I'm getting close to the end. So yeah, I am sorry, Paulie. I'm a super boomer when it comes to social media. Speaking of social media, to easy transition, Parler has arrived where advertisers follow. So this is, I found this, I'm just using this as a backdrop because I want to talk about Parler and alt tech in general. To me, the future of alt tech is completely dependent on whether or not alt tech can be fun. Because as it stands, whether you're talking about Parler, Rumble, all these different sites, they only exist because other platforms are censoring people. They don't exist because there's like there's no draw. Like TikTok has a draw. I never use TikTok, but there's a reason other people use. Instagram has a draw. There's a reason people use it. Now Twitter, I never understood the draw, so that's why Parler being kind of a semi-clone, I don't know. But there's no real reason to use this except I'm conservative and I can't be heard. And that's cool for a little bit, but at some point you need fun. These platforms are too political. They are just too political to really be viable long term as that. They said either follow him or follow him back if you message you. All right, I'll follow him back. Thank you for helping me be less boomer. Appreciate that. Oh, you both follow me. So I'm giving you both a follow back. I appreciate that. So yeah. But I don't know what the long term is for these sites. And another thing you have to remember is there's a lot of media. Okay, gotcha. So follow me. There's a lot of media straw manning they could do, right? Because they could do this thing where they say, oh, everyone on Parler, they did it to BitChute. Everything on Parler is all right and racist. I know there's that one racist bit shooter that somebody was trying. I'm not even going to go on with the rumor, but because of that, they were deplatformed for the payment process and they have to use some janky ass payment processing, and then they'll get you with the banks. But I mean, nowadays you got Bitcoin. I think these alt tech companies are going to have to do two things. They're going to have to be creative about their funding. They're going to have to. They got to figure a way to encourage fun creators. They can't just rely on, oh, we're all stuffy and nobody listens to us. That's not going to get it done. I've joked about how each platform has its target audience. Facebook is for the why-nots and the wine moms. TikTok is for the thotty daughters. What is it? Reddit's for the awkward. Reddit and 4chan is for the awkward son. Instagram is for the older kid. And now Parler looks like it's for the divorced ex-dad. That's not fun. Nobody wants that. So I don't know how Parler or any of this is going to last. BitChute, Rumble. BitChute's a terrible platform to upload onto. It's a crapshoot rather it's going to upload. I still don't understand Rumble. I still don't, I really want a new platform. That's why I'm streaming to D Live for this episode. I'm trying to expand my stuff with different platforms. But Parler, I don't see working. And actually, let me get into the actual advertising. So this is how Parler is doing their advertising as of now. Advertising on Parler is at this point in fairly beta form. Advertisers cannot currently buy ad space on the platform, but instead must advertise organically in their own parlays, solicited unrelated advertisements, comments on other parlays, as well as well-coordinated arrangements to echo parlays in exchange for money or material goods are not permitted. So you can't say, hey, I'll buy follows or retweets of this parlay, echoes or retweets. And let me see. He says the opportunity to use influencers. Parler CEO John Matz, he said, the idea of how we're going to make money isn't going to be a centralized model for ads. It will be specific around influencers. So advertisers will target influencers, and those people will reach those people with a large reach rather than us as a platform. Let's see this. OnlyFans is for the capitalist $30, exactly, for the smart ones. They start off on TikTok, they graduate to OnlyFans. So that if you need that, to be fair, I just joked about the thotties. You need to start reaching out to the thots. That's just real. There's a reason women are, even though there's no clubs with COVID, there's a reason ladies are free before 10 on Tuesdays. You know what I mean? Because if the ladies show up, the dudes will show up. That's common knowledge in the club industry. So I think that's what these places have kind of replaced, social media in a way. If Parler is going to go anywhere in the future or any of these alt tech platforms, they have to add more fun. We need more sports talk. We need more. We need waifus. I think Gary has talked about, I don't need, and I love Gary. I love Nerdrotic. I love Nerdrotic to pieces. And even though I sort of agree with him, me personally, I don't really need nudity. I'm not going to social media for the thoughts. And I agree with that at a personal use level. But if we're talking the wide range, I actually think they need to get rid of the nudity thing as far as the anime thoughts. And not to use that word to offend people. I mean, some ladies of thoughts, no, we love the thoughts. But I think the anime waifus that might bring their milkshake might bring the boys to the yard. So I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea. I actually think the more you could get people to come to your platform for a reason that isn't politics, the more likely your platform will be successful. So I think Parler, all these platforms in the long term, need to figure something out, because being a political echo chamber is not going to get anything done. So that is pretty much it for the main podcast. But I always like to end with positive news, especially as negative as things are now, if you look back at my channel, my very first video, I started a positive news podcast. But unfortunately, and I can even show you, positive news has become so politicized. I don't think this is as bad as it's been because they used to have BLM stuff. But there's even stuff like, look at this, building bat better. You know what I mean? It's a very leftist slant. We should all embrace being average. This is the stuff you could get. And so it's kind of led to me, that's why I didn't do the full podcast. That's why I'm like, well, if everything's going to be political, I might as well talk about politics. But I don't want to forget being positive. I think in a world as dire as it is, it's always good to find really positive stories and remember that human beings do still care about each other. I know everything in the media is trying to make it like, your neighbor hates you because of a different worldview that we've programmed them with, and on the right and the left. You know what I mean? Or the right or left. Like there's only two directions. There's a million ways to think. But whatever way you think, there are people who are helping each other and care about each other. So I'm going to start off with this story. This business supports garment workers in Bangladesh by selling surplus clothes. Many big retailers have canceled clothing orders due to lockdown, lost stock sales, surplus items direct to consumers, supporting garment workers in Bangladesh. With shops around U.S. and with shops across Europe and the U.S. closed to lockdowns, many retailers have canceled orders for clothes, leaving factories with piles of surplus stock and unable to pay for staff. During the first lockdown, orders, oh my God, worth more than $2 billion were canceled or suspended in Bangladesh alone. Good Lord, that's economically destructive as hell for that country like that, for any country. Good Lord. But that's why this is a positive news story. Somebody's come to kind of rectify that. Enter Lost Stock, an impactful retail business. And I hope, reading this again, like I said, there's a lot of spin. I pray to God that this company that I'm reading is actually what they purport to be, because that's always, a struggle for anything you read. But if purported, this is a really cool thing. Lost Stock, an impactful retail business that sell boxes of surplus clothes from manufacturers in Bangladesh directly to customers in the UK. So sorry, everyone in the US, you won't be able to get them unless they change their policies. They provide factories with much needed revenue and workers with money to feed their families. We focused on Bangladesh because their economy is so reliant on clothing manufacture, and there isn't really the same support network that you would find in other countries. Founder Callie Russell told Positive News. Let's see what we're getting in the chat. Okay, my neighbor doesn't hate me. The Karen, her name is actually Karen across the lake, hates me. Uh-oh. And then Bangladesh is one of the poorest countries in the world. Exactly. So losing $2 billion to your GDP from the major industry is just, golly. Lost Stock aimed to sell 50,000 boxes by the end of 2020. But by August, the company had more than doubled that. Thank God. It has since started selling boxes to customers. Oh, it's selling to the U.S. Selling boxes to customers in Australia and the U.S. and some parts of Europe. I hope that maybe coronavirus will actually build a better world for, oh Lord. Maybe. You know what? I'm not going to, oh Lord, at it. Let me read the whole thing. Hope that maybe coronavirus will actually build a better world for us all, because we're all thinking about things differently. What we've seen with this project is that at a time of hardship in the world, people have decided to do some good with their purchases, Russell said. And that's why I'm highlighting this. Again, I hope this company does give as much money to the people in Bangladesh as possible. I hope they're not ripping them off. We just talked about the entertainment industry ripping people off. As Nano Reaper said, Bangladesh is one of the poorest countries in the world. And they just, we talk about these lockdowns and how they impact small businesses here. Think about what they're doing to countries like that, who literally rely on us. So this is a good story. And this is another really positive story. I haven't teared up. I almost have teared up on one of these stories, and I hope this doesn't get me. Strangers reunite 13 years after an act of kindness that left a lifelong impact. A Texas woman says that she is forever grateful for a stranger's act of kindness that happened more than a decade ago. This year, the two reconnected, and this is a really beautiful story. 13 years ago, when Haley Allen was just 16, her mother and her brother unexpectedly passed away. The responsibility of making arrangements for the funeral fell completely on Haley's shoulder. While shopping at her local mall for outfits for her mom and her brother, an employee overheard her crying in the dressing room. I walked into Maurice's, and every little piece of clothing I would look at, I would lose it, Haley told Brownwood News. I decided it was too much for me to pick something for my mom right away, so I started going into the dressing room and trying things for me. The only person that was working there at the time heard me crying and asked my friend what was wrong. My friend said that my mom brother had just passed, and I was worried I wouldn't have enough money to for something nice. I picked out what I was going to wear, and when I came out, the lady that worked there said, "Don't worry about anything. Get whatever you need." No one had ever done anything like that before, for me before. The employee was Melissa Mullins, whose generosity helped Haley get through a tragedy she never anticipated facing. Toward the end, and this is where it really gets me, I'm somebody who struggles with mental illness, and even though this article doesn't say the cause of death, you can gather it on your own if you can. I haven't looked enough to see what it is, but you know what I mean. Toward the end, my mother was depressed. She aged overnight and she didn't have enough energy to look nice. I didn't see the signs of depression until it was too late, Allen said. Because of Melissa, my mother looked more beautiful than I had ever seen her look in her casket, and I have that image to look back on. Years had passed, and Haley moved on with her life the best thing she could. Having a son on her own, on Mother's Day, she shared the story of her mother and her brother with her son. The past year on Mother's Day, I was talking with my son about what happened, how this kind lady paid for my mom's clothes, and I was able to get her something nice, Haley recalled. When I was talking about it, her face came in my mind, and I remembered her face. I thought she looked so familiar, and I recognized her and thought I'd seen her somewhere since then. As it turns out, Haley, while snapping pictures for her Phoenix photography business, had recently seen a woman that helped her years ago. I started thinking about it, and I remembered I had given her a couple of free photo shoots to some little girls. One of the girls' grandmothers bought her. She was the grandma. So I met her again, not knowing that was her. Once, uh, Once realizing she had crossed paths with Melissa Mullins again, Haley reached out to Melissa's daughter in order to make an effort to contact. I messaged her daughter and asked if her mom had worked in Maurice's in 2006, and she said yes, so that was the confirmation. Haley said after that, we talked on the phone a little bit, and she texted me. She has two daughters of her own, and she was picturing me as one of her daughters and what that would be like. A couple weeks later, she reached out to me again and asked me if I would meet her for breakfast. And we have met every 2 weeks on Monday and had breakfast ever since. The text Melissa sent Haley is as follows. Thank you for your kind words. This is all just a reminder that you never know how much you could touch someone's life. You cannot imagine how you touched mine that day. It is something I will never forget. Of course, I have daughters myself. It was such a powerful thing to see all you were dealing with and picturing in my mind my girls going through anything like that. I would have just prayed they would have had someone to help them. I always wish when I thought of that, I would have remembered your name so I could have kept up with you. You owe me nothing. It was an honor and a blessing to help. I shed a few tears today remembering that day. Thank you for the kindness. Since the two have reconnected, Melissa continues to offer Haley support in a variety of ways. Recently, I took some Christmas photos and she's helped me with that, Haley said. We haven't known each other very long, but as soon as I left her house the other day, she said, I love you. And that really got to me. It means a lot to me because I don't have any parents. Everything I've had to experience with my own child has just been me. I moved here 8 years ago and we don't have any family here. It's kind of a hurt for someone who doesn't know me at all, not just to do one nice thing for me, but has accepted me like I've always been here. Haley has continually attempted to repay Melissa for her generosity. I've been trying to repay her in some way. We renovate vacation home for her family for a weekend. I want to do something for her, but she won't accept anything. She said, I wanted to do something nice for her. I wanted people to know how sweet she is, so I made a video and tagged her in it. Having gotten to know Melissa in recent months, Haley is more thankful for their connection and their budding friendship. She continues to blow me away with her eagerness to know and love me, even though she doesn't know me, that Haley said. She doesn't just do this for me. She does this for everyone she knows. This is a lifestyle for her. This is how she is. Anytime I ask if someone knows Melissa Mullins, they say yes. She's the sweetest. I can only help. I can only hope to be this level of selfless. And I think we all can agree to that. Oh, what's Terry Rose talking about? According to Christy's playing online. Well, that is the end of the stream, but I would like ending on a positive note. And I think that that last line, I can only hope to be this level of selfless. I think we can all hope to be that level of selfless, right? It's just a beautiful story to end on. I know that the world is such a dark place. I like ending on something positive to remind you that people do care about each other. People still care about each other. People still do good things for each other. No matter how dark the world looks, no matter how much BS you may get out in the media, we're still human beings and we still do love and care about each other. And we need to remind ourselves of that. So that is the podcast. That is the show. I actually had people. This is one of the first episodes I've had a full chat. And I didn't even plug my tip jar that much. Look at me, terrible capitalist. Hopefully nobody tipped because I don't know how the alerts work on this. I'm yet to get a tip. But I digress. I want to thank any and everybody who make sure. No, it's not. I want to thank any and everybody who joined, who contributed in the chat. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this is one of the first streams that I actually got viewers. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten the past few weeks, hopping on people's streams. I appreciate Gary. I appreciate Sweetcast. I appreciate Captain Trek. I appreciate Latino Slant, of course. A great story, man. Yeah, I like to end with these positive stories. Nano Reaper, Terry Rose. Who else was in the chat? Courtney Blackman, who just subbed, and I saw you sub as my headphones are already ready to go. And anyone else who joined who I missed, Fireball was here for a little bit. I love all you guys so much. It means the world to me to join. It really inspires me because this is really fun. I love doing these podcasts, put on this mask and doing all this. So if you like the show, please like the video. I don't know where I'm at as far as likes, because I have not been on the YouTube side of the platform. But if you like the video, please like the video. I'm not sure if you can do that on Twitch or D Live. Whatever you can, please do. If you don't, let me know in the comments below, or just, comment on whatever I was talking about. And if you're so obliged to share, subscribe, please do that. And if you're willing to do none of these things, or you're not able to do any of these things, thank you for watching, and thank you for your time. God bless.